Gamesir G7SE versus Snakebyte Gamepad Pro. The G7SE is priced at £37 on Gamesir's website and $49.99 from their official Amazon store. Comes with a premium braided USB cable and has a 1-year warranty. The Snakebyte Gamepad Pro will cost $79.99 in retail stores and Snakebyte's website. Comes with a 5-year warranty, also has a matching braided USB cable. Both of these are using K-Silver's magnetic Hall effect sticks and both have a 250Hz polling rate on Xbox. The Gamepad Pro is designed like an Xbox controller with a slightly different grips. Weighs 218 grams on my scales and there's a glossy laser etched back that provides a lot of grip during long gaming sessions. The G7SE is a bit wider and has a rough matte texture plastic grips. Weighs 223 grams on my scales. In terms of in-hand feel, both are on par with a standard Xbox Series controller. I personally find the Gamepad Pro slightly better due to it being more like the standard Xbox controller. Also at times, the G7SE's removable faceplate moves slightly in hand. Feels a little bit awkward, but thankfully it doesn't happen a lot. So both of them have membrane ABXY buttons. Gamepad Pros do protrude out more and have sharper edges. Also travel a bit more than the G7SEs with slightly higher resistance. Which one you prefer will be a personal preference. For me personally, I like the Gamepad Pro's more resistance and less wobble on the buttons. The D-pad on the Gamepad has a very sharp feeling as it's a tack switch variant, and on the membrane one, I personally quite like the feeling of this D-pad. Whereas the G7SE feels mushy being a rubber membrane design. The other face buttons are tack switches with crisp response on both of these controllers. The triggers are hands down better on the Gamepad Pro. Not only their physical design, but they have a one-stage trigger stop, which cuts out about 85% of the pull. And these have actually become one of my favorite triggers, even better than the Elite Series 2 and the Victrix Gambit. I mentioned in this full review, there is a springiness to them when pushed all the way down. I honestly really like this design. The G7SE triggers feel a bit loose to me, something I mentioned in my full review. They do have a lot of software options in terms of maximum and minimum dead zones, but honestly, they should have implemented a trigger stop system here. So in all honesty, I much prefer the Gamepad Pro's triggers. Bumpers, I would say both have really good bumpers, but the G7SE does have a little bit of texture, something that feels better in use, whereas the Gamepad Pro has a really nice design, but there's no texture on the bumpers. So both of these have two back buttons. The G7SE has an onboard solution and a software to map these. The Gamepad Pro has a command slider to assign a function to these back buttons. On the G7SE, you can assign any face button that includes your D-pad and your menu and view buttons as well. On the Gamepad Pro, you cannot assign the D-pad inputs to the back buttons nor the menu and view buttons. Also, there is no option to disable them, so there is always something assigned to these back buttons. I myself use jump and crouch on the back buttons, so not a deal breaker for me, but somebody who needs a D-pad input or maybe even the menu and view buttons at the back, this will be a deal breaker for them on the Gamepad Pro side. In terms of usability, both of these controllers have back buttons placed under the fingers. The Gamepad Pro's ones are higher, so can be left alone if you don't want to use them. The G7SE's back buttons have a lock which disables them completely and allow you to hold the controller normally without actuating them. Also, the G7SE's back buttons are much quieter. As a whole, the G7SE has better back buttons in terms of functionality and usability. So both are using K-Silver's Hall effect sticks, but let's take a look at the physical thumbstick design first. The G7SE stick sits a bit lower in the shell and are close to the PS5 shape, so only PS4, PS5 control freaks fit them. The Gamepad Pro stick sits higher and again are larger than the Xbox ones. The caps are definitely more grippier than the G7SEs, but you'll have to extend the control freak's plastic tabs outwards to be able to fit on these sticks. If you like to use the precision rings, the Gamepad Pro is definitely better for them, as there is more room around the shaft to install the precision rings. When it comes to aiming, both of them have really accurate calibrations. The G7SE will allow you to disable the dead zones completely, and the Gamepad Pro has built in around 3 to 4% dead zones. I've used both of these extensively and they perform very well. They do have slight different feel to them when compared to the potentiometer sticks. In my initial review of the G7SE, I mentioned a bit of delay at times. Since then, multiple updates have come out and things have gotten a lot better. Playing on the Gamepad Pro, I didn't experience any delay and the sticks performed well. Also, them being a bit taller, the user positioning was very good. As I've said before, these are the future and hopefully the end of stick drift. So if they feel different than the potentiometer sticks and I have to get used to them, then that's what I'll have to do. Just get used to the feel of the Hall effect sticks. So which one would I recommend? Well, that depends on your use case. If you're like me, mainly playing shooters and you're used to the trigger stops, then Gamepad Pro is your best bet. If you're playing many different type of games and the D-pad input are important to be mapped on the back buttons, then the G7SE is the one for you. Also, Gamesir has promised a 1000 Hz polling rate coming for G7SE on PCs. In terms of longevity, the G7SE has a 1-year warranty. The Gamepad Pro has a 5-year warranty, so there is a big difference there. But then again, there is a difference in the price as well. The G7SE will be £30 cheaper if bought from Amazon and £47 cheaper if bought from Gamesir Direct. The Gamepad Pro will be available in their retail stores, so there is that to consider as well. For me personally, I always pick the Gamepad Pro to play because I love the trigger stops on it. But either of these are a win for us as consumer because hopefully these will finally be the end of the dreaded stick drift issue that we've been facing for how many ever years now. There is a discount code in the description below that will give you a 10% off on Snakebyte's website if you purchase the Gamepad Pro or the base or RGB models. It will give me a bit of a kickback as well. So that's basically everything for me, guys. I hope this video had some useful info. If I've let anything out, if there's anything particular you'd like to ask, please do leave me a comment. Even teach me a thing or two down there as well. So yeah, and thank you so much to everyone who subscribed. Your support means a lot, honestly. It's unbelievable. And thanks a lot for watching this video. Hopefully I'll catch you on one of my other videos. Bye for now.